Hello, we are here for the round two of the Cycle 7 review. So, in our previous one, we talked about the keyboard. Come on. Trust me, it's there. We talked about the keyboard last time. This time we're going to talk about what the keyboard implies. Okay? So, you guys know me. I'm Simon. I've been in the hobby for a while, 2015, 2016. Started dabbling with making, manufacturing, running group buys, all that. And, I get up to some stuff. This here's my friend Paul. Paul, how long have you been in the hobby?
2018,
Okay, so recent.
17, 18, yeah. 18 rings is the most,
You've
yeah.
done more projects than I have, though. You've done what? The Safa, the Buddy, the Type
Type B.
B, the pedals, other things you've designed as well. You've done
But
a key set,
behind
couple
closed
key sets.
doors, yeah, yeah. Bunch of private stuff, but yeah. I only started making in what? When was Safa? 2020?
That sounds about right.
And like I took a year to release the group buy, but it is what it is. Um, yeah, so not exactly old school, but
But experience. You,
2018 was still what I would consider a quieter time in the hobby.
of course, yeah.
Um, and there are things from back then that I kind of wish were here now. But and I mean, I say that from my point of view. There are people that are like, 2015, 2016, who are like, oh no, I want it back. From
The
there,
good times.
the good times,
The good
exactly,
times.
exactly.
Do
So
do you think that this is a reminder of the good times, or is this the new chapter in the bad times?
this is a beacon of light at the end of the tunnel,
Oh
if that
boy.
makes sense.
All right, before we get too spicy, those of you that don't know, Cycle 7 is a $139 FRL. This version has PVD, which means it's $8 more. But you could have it with a normal stainless steel back, dual internal brass weight. It weighs about 2 kilos, feels good, sounds good, has great finishing, especially for the price. And it's kind of insane. When you originally tried it, you were kind of just in shock. When I tried it, I was in shock. I was like, wow.
Yeah, so a lot about this project doesn't really make sense to me, um, for the fact that it's 130 to 160 depending on the configuration, right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Even though like there was an incredible amount of units made in the Chinese run, the fact that they could bring a not so dissimilar price to the Western audience baffles me really.
Yeah, let's actually talk about pricing. Now, when we deal with changes in pricing over MOQ, like at 1 to 5 MOQ, let's say you're paying $500 a unit. You're not going to really see a big discount until like 50. Then you're not going to see another big discount to like 125, 150, then like 300, 500. Like it takes a while to get where it gets cheaper, right?
Yes, well, see, it depends on the factory as well.
Yes.
Okay, so 1 to 5, or sorry, there's actually quite a substantial difference between 1 and 5 units.
Yeah.
25 is not a massive drop off, but 50, you'll generally feel like that's quite significant. 50 to 100 sort of flattens out a little bit.
That's the thing. It does flatten out. So like the difference realistically between
But once
1,000 and 2,000.
but once you get from like that 100 to 250 plus,
Yeah.
like that's another quite substantial drop in cost. Above that, it's relatively flat in
Yeah, it
terms of how the
plateaus.
price scales down.
It plateaus because realistically at some point the material cost sure is going to drop by some point. The machining cost, the underlying cost of running the machines is going to stay the same. Maybe, by doing the same piece over and over, you don't have as many tool changes, you don't have as many re-educations with, people that are actually running the machines. But how low can
Yeah.
you reasonably get? That's the thing. When I look at this at $139 and I consider that it's fully CNC'd with 2 internal brass weights and an external steel weight, logic tells me that even if I were to go to what I would consider relatively like sus manufacturer, even at 10,000 units, I couldn't get prices that would allow this.
Again, it depends, right? Like if you're like these guys are in China and they know like where to get the good stuff for the good price,
True. Yeah.
right? Whereas someone like me, like I'm not gonna have that opportunity, no matter like how hard I try. From if I was doing it directly, no, not a chance. When you're in mainland China, you have like opportunities to save costs that we simply don't have.
They do have an in, but even with an in, the price
Oh,
still
even
shocks me.
okay, yeah, okay. Saying that, like, it's still a very good price. Again, though, you're talking about 3,000 units plus
I mean, we've seen stuff like
international, the
like the
international
Polaris, like the Vega, stuff like that. That's done high unit counts.
what 8,000
Yeah,
is the projected amount. I don't know if that's true, but it's projected.
for international for this
No, like total. Right?
total. So that means 5,000 for the international run, give or take.
Yeah, I'm. These are numbers I've heard. Like it's not like I don't know, but even still, the amount of units made it for the Western market was massive, right? So
But the Chinese unit is also $139 at 3,000 MOQ. That's the other thing.
so either they've
But wait, the cherry on top is that the price was set before they knew they were going to hit 3,000 MOQ. So they came out and said, we're going to sell this for $139. It was the yuan equivalent, but
then they knew that they had something on their hands. Like if you've like secured the source materials, you've secured the manufacturing side of it, which they have, the anodizing they've got, like they've taken all the correct steps to set it up to be successful. And it's just a case of garnering that attention from the market.
yeah. Let's talk about how this board in a vacuum, irrespective of price, would compare to, a $300 to $400 FRL by basically anyone else in terms of, is the machining up to par? Is the finishing up to par? Is the sound and feel up to par?
I'm not going to talk about machining in general because
I mean, for machining, it's either it machines it correctly,
yeah,
or you have errors.
machining is math, right?
Yeah.
Like it's very simple, but there are no obvious flaws that you can spot. And like I have had $700 prototypes that have had flaws.
Yeah,
So
little slip mark or something like
Like-
that on the inside.
I haven't noticed anything with this particular unit, and fingers crossed for the group buy it doesn't happen either. I doubt it will. Anodization is shockingly good for the price.
It's shockingly good at even the $400 point. The matching is not 100%, but the matching is like 95% there.
You'd expect this from a $350, $400.
Yeah.
In terms of the matching, colors there, reflectivity is not, but that will always happen if you know how anodization works and how surface area has an impact on anodization. That explains it. Sorry, I knocked something on the desk. So yeah, no, for even if it was $400, the QC or the final product that you're, at least the one I'm seeing here, is definitely more than acceptable.
So I've had this idea, and it's only an idea in my head, because I've spoken to Lolo, who's the Vertex side of TKD. I haven't spoken to Equals, essentially. And this is not information from Lolo. This is information that like I've gotten as a vibe. If I were to enter the market, let's say in 2022, and I was Chinese and I was seeing these, I wouldn't call it low effort, but these simple, decent mid-range and low-range boards. We've seen a lot of them. I mean, we've seen high-end boards, but
Sure.
that's not a discussion for today. And I wanted to just put everybody in the situation of either do better or die. This is what my final output would be, where I aim to release something impossibly good at an impossible price, not to kick everybody out of the market,
No,
but to get those people out, those people that are just trying to make a quick buck, making something that's been made before 100 times.
I'm not going to say the name of projects. It's not. It's not fair to do
Yeah,
that.
we're not here for that.
But we've seen a bunch of 65s and 75s and TKLs at the $180 price bracket.
And they were okay.
I mean, I'm talking about 100 from 150 to 180, bordering on to 200, 210, right? Like, so that rough area, right? Good quality product at the end of the day, but some simple things like you don't need like to stuff it with foam, for example, for it to sound good. Or like these guys have actually thought of like the sound and feel, not just making a good looking product, which is
Already at this price point, if we're talking sub $200, having a good looking product, when I say good looking, I mean good quality control, not necessarily in terms of like design aesthetic, because design aesthetic is in the eyes of the beholder.
it's very personal, sure.
Exactly. But the objective points they've absolutely nailed. I think this doesn't only attack sub $200 boards.
It punches above its weight. Like it if you do like I'm a fight fan, right? So like pound for pound, right? This would be up there in terms of what it offers. People are not. People are going to be, have their opinions and be like, oh, it uses tadpoles, or it uses gasket, or it uses this, and this. Whatever, dude. You can't. Like, I don't like FRLs, but I can't hate the board for what it is.
I mean,
You know?
there's a TKL coming soon. It's probably going to be
that's
great.
but this is my point. I can't hate what the product is. Like objectively.
Yeah. Objectively, I expect the same reaction out of you when you first touch this to be the same reaction when you touch the TKL and give me the same spiel, which is, what am I even doing?
So like, I mean, I picked this up and I'm like, fuck, this is heavy. Like, it feels like substantial in the hand. I legit tried to break the latch system in my hands and I couldn't do it because I thought surely that's going to be a point of failure. Nope. Yeah, I'm excited for these guys to do more stuff. I want to see I want to see some other things. You know what I would like to see from them? A traditional top mount.
Ooh.
It's like a litmus test almost, isn't it?
It is.
Right? Because you're not relying on gaskets which
To be
could
fair,
isolate,
To be fair, though,
and it's very hard to mess up a top mount.
that's the thing. That's exactly what I was going to say. Historically, and I've tried a lot of gasket mount boards. Again, I've been around a long time, and I love top mount. And the majority of implementations of gasket that I've tried have been disappointing. This has actually been great, which makes me afraid to let them to let them try top mount. Because my fear right now is, okay, this attacks the mid to low end of the hobby, but they have the tools, they have the weaponry to attack the high end of the hobby.
Yeah. It would be interesting just to see like if they did a very basic top mount, no grommets, none of that, just simple plate on the top case, and just see what happens.
That just scares me.
Listen, it wasn't, I did agree to this, but I didn't mean to scare you. So
No, the concept's good.
but it's I don't know why they wouldn't change from the current mounting. It's pretty nice.
I mean, they've got a model with the ball and latch mount, and then the two types of gasket mount, where their proof of concept on an FRL felt and sounded great. I would see them just stick to what you know.
If anything, the TKL is going to feel a bit better. Obviously, you have that vertical.
Yeah, you're
spacing.
dealing with more area as well.
So
Okay, so let's talk about from I mean, like I covered it in my actual keyboard review, but from the buyer's side, you
Hmm.
know, remember when the Frog TKL came out, and then it became the benchmark.
It was the de facto what, $300? No, or 350, let's say.
Yeah,
Sure. How does it affect the buyer and their opinion?
it's not how does it affect the buyer. It's is this going to be used as the benchmark? Because I don't think it can be. It's dangerous to use this as a benchmark because you can't make a better board for the same price or cheaper. You cannot. It's physically impossible. Unless you
I
own your
think
own
the
manufacturing and
the
anodizing plants and
mm,
have hookups and have, keep in mind, the 139 was still run through vendors. And as a vendor, okay, you'd maybe take 20 to like $30 for a keyboard because you got to pack it, you got to QC it. That's a large portion of $139. Even if they were taking a very, very small cut, that's still a wild price. I think that it, again, it's kind of scary. It's terrifying. It's terrifying that if this becomes the benchmark and people point at it and say, "Well, this was possible," well, great, landing on the moon was possible, but we gave up on it because it was really hard.
I think from an just someone who's relatively new to the hobby, or like just wants like a one and done board, um, it's not dangerous at all. It's a no-brainer kind of thing.
It is a no-brainer.
They'll probably buy this and that's it, or they'll buy the TKO and that's it. For those people who like buying a few boards, let's say like three or four, around the $200 price bracket, they're going to buy this and they're going to throw every other board away.
Yeah,
Because for that money, no. For like enthusiasts that they spend a lot of money on in this hobby, again, I don't think it's a danger, because they're going to buy it and they're going to appreciate it for the value, but they're still going to appreciate the boards that they already have.
I mean,
And there's going to be some sort of like attachment to those that this will not replace,
I get that.
like personal bias in some sort of way.
I get that. We do know that like the. By the way, there's a very very like very intricate script.
Yeah, it's an amazing script.
It's that. Okay. This is off script. We know that the hobby's in a state of decline from its peak, right?
Yeah.
We know that the average individual doesn't have the disposable income they had 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So people, and when I say people, I mean enthusiasts, because that's what you were talking about, are being a lot more intelligent with their purchases. For example, what have I bought this year? My last purchase was a Cycle 7.
Oh, okay. If you exclude this.
Yeah, my
The
last
Arc?
purchase was a Cycle 7. Prior to that was the Arc 60. And I picked up a Glare because the Glare was stupidly good value. All three boards I went for were boards that I knew were insane value. I mean, I also got a TGR 910, but that's because it's a TGR. You got a TGR this year because it's a TGR. You buy those,
Yeah.
But like, even from an enthusiast standpoint, having more stuff like this in the hobby, more stuff that is this much of a no-brainer, is going to make people give up picking up something else quite easily.
It's going to make people question, what is your $400 going to offer me?
Yep.
Or what is your $300 going to offer me? That point will come to at the very end. And I'll speak from a different perspective then. But as a consumer, I'm asking, why am I going to go spend $400 on something that looks
I wouldn't.
minimalistic, let's
Yeah,
say,
I
right?
wouldn't.
Now, you say that 2 years ago, completely different market, right? So it's just of the times, right?
Yeah.
There are projects that are releasing now that are $400 minimalistic, and I'm like, yeah,
I
it
like
still
it.
gets a bad
I
pass.
like it, but I'm not willing. I mean, how many what boards have you picked up this year?
I don't think I've actually like bought anything in terms of like, except for the 910, anything that's been. Yeah, I don't think I've actually bought anything this
Why?
year.
Has nothing piqued your interest?
No, I've just made my own stuff.
Okay. I
So
mean,
it's a different perspective.
it is a different perspective.
Like I considered the auger because I genuinely liked the
The
board.
auger was nice, yeah.
I didn't try the arc, but again, quite interesting. Like there were boards that I've considered, but like
All those were value focused boards.
yeah, but that's
That's the thing. It isn't the wild times anymore where
No.
people are going out and splurging on wild stuff.
I mean, there's a few things upcoming that I'm 100% going to buy.
Like-
But that's because, I've got a certain soft spot for certain designers,
Yeah.
right?
Like if Heine comes out with a board, I'm interested in it. I'm signed up. If Max makes one, I'm signed up. If Elaine makes one that isn't as expensive as the Kohaku,
See,
I'm in.
Jaguar is going to ship pretty soon, right? And that's something I missed the group by. I might consider it buying an extra,
Yeah.
right? Might. James is coming out with a TKL that probably won't be cheap, but
It'll be good.
it'll be good, and it has really nice features in it.
So okay, so this is our segue into realistically, does this affect high-end boards? I mean, obviously no, but people are going to ask the question because the argument will be, oh, they could make the Cycle7 at $140 and this thing is $650. Oh my God.
Well,
It's different.
If it's $650 for a rectangle, yeah, nobody's going to buy it. And
How much was Kohaku?
I don't know.
It was around that. And that's not like me throwing shade. That's what it
No,
cost.
no. I think when it comes to, okay, let's use Kahako as an example, right? You're also paying for the brand, right?
You're absolutely paying for the brand.
And I don't really object to that personally.
No, I'm okay with that. I'm okay paying
Because
for a brand if
I
that
know-
brand gives me quality.
Yes, I know for a fact that Elaine will give you a quality product at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And if there's a problem, like spoilers, if you don't know, my unicorn is. But Elaine was like willing to help, right? I said no, but like like you deal with that level of quality, customer service, etc.
You also
when you come to
you also deal with somebody that's at the high level of like keyboard enjoyment and like community enjoyment. They're
And
in
that's-
this for the love of keyboards.
Same for Gian.
Yeah.
Like he really, really, really cares about like you as a consumer, I think. And that shows through his projects.
Now this. I mean, we don't know. TKD could end up being basically capable of checking that box.
We don't know.
We don't yet know. But you remember when, we first saw the Geonworks F1, that was $318 if you bought it in Korean won at the time of early bird price, which is when I got mine. And when I looked at that, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, but
Not
like,
knowing anything about Gion, and I
Yeah.
said, hopefully he develops, and he ended up being, one of the most humble makers, one of the best makers the hobby has ever seen.
see, like I've got an F169 and it has terrible analyzation. We all told him that. What did he do? He went and he fixed the problem immediately. And everyone else who got an F1 got F1s with pretty damn good ana, right? So it's like, when it comes to, how he entered the hobby, I think that was more of like a testing the market, right? Because there weren't really, Korea wasn't really known for quality.
I mean, keep in mind
and
that
he's changed that.
when the F1 launched, and this is from speaking to Gian, when him and Blair launched it, they expected to sell like 50 units. They got 800 orders the first day.
Yeah.
So people were ready.
Yeah.
People were absolutely ready for it. We could be in another one of those situations. We might not be. For the time being, I see the Cycle7 as, an aggressor to mid to low end boards. And when I say mid, I'm talking $300, $400 boards that are good. Not the best in the world, but good. And in terms of the high end, this doesn't necessarily scare me yet, but knowing they have this capability at this price point means it's it's not a big jump to be able to actually make something at the high end.
I think sub 300 is a really great area in the hobby because you don't know if you're getting quality.
Yeah.
This is very general terms. I'm not. So, like, you don't know what you're getting with $300 a lot of the time. And for this to come at this price, at half of that, let's say half, depending on configs, right?
Yeah.
Based on this as an example, it's ridiculous. So if you're selling a board at 300 or under, what are you going to offer me that is going to, you know,
I mean,
outperform?
it's not even that. If somebody comes in and let's say they make a bog standard 60% or a bog standard 65% that's very minimalistic at $400 to $450. And sure, it's understandable they're doing it at 20 to 50 MOQ. That's the best price they can possibly give. They have no chance.
Then again, if you're making boards at 20 MOQ, you're not targeting a big sale, right? You're making it for people who support you more than anything.
Sure, but again, you're saying that as you, as somebody that's,
I'm not saying that as me, though.
Okay. When I say you're saying that as you,
Okay,
I'm saying
as me, as like a designer, right?
you as a maker.
Okay, fine.
Because a lot of like, I've been looking at group buys and ICs every Saturday for the past 3 years. Very perceptive to what's going on in terms of, hobby trends and whatnot.
Sure.
And there is an underlying percentage of makers that come in and make, the nice way of saying it is minimalistic, decent boards. The bad way of saying it is uninspired, kind of expensive boards where they're not really doing anything special. They made it for them, and sure, maybe they poured their heart and soul into it, and they're giving us the best price they possibly can, and they're going to make sure that you're going to get the best quality control that they can possibly deliver. But these are not people with a huge background, a huge following, a huge experience. These are people that are there to either fund their own units because they don't want to pay for them, or make a little bit of cash, or try their luck at this whole designer thing.
This doesn't kill off projects like Augur, which is more expensive. In my opinion, it doesn't do that because we all know that from the maker side, JLabs cannot compete at that level. He is still giving you a good product for the price that you're paying. This is just one project off the top of my head, right? There's an R2 coming soon, right? So it's like things like that are not going to die.
I think things like that are in serious danger because you're looking at this from a logical point of view of a maker that understands the field. I can also look at it from the customer point of view where I'm like, okay, I want a bouncy gasket board. Cycle7 is a bouncy gasket board. Maybe they'll make a Cycle 65 or a Cycle 6.5, whatever they want to call it. And it's going to be like $150. And I'm going to think really hard. And as much as I love Jeff, the maker of the Augur, who is a solid dude, I'm going to look at this and say, I can get an experience that's within range for half the price. And I can take that other half of the price and spend it on nicer switches, nicer caps, maybe even another board, maybe something not keyboard related. Remember my initial point of, the discretionary spending behavior is different. The times are different, even me, I have a lot of keyboards. This is like half of my keyboards. The other half are just all over the place. But like, I've cut down on my keyboard expenses. I'm not going wild. I see nice things that I really want, but then I think about it and I say, do I really want to spend $600 plus, dollars for 65%? Do I really need the newest F1? Do I, buy a W1? Do I not buy a W1? And this is from Gion, where I know it's a sure thing. I could have picked up a Jane ME because I have every other Jane. Why didn't I pick up a Jane ME? And it's different enough to like fit into my collection. Why didn't I? Because
I don't think it is.
Well, it's different enough from a aesthetic and sound standpoint, but from a feel standpoint, it's pretty much the same.
Sure.
And from a design standpoint, it's very similar. But you know me and my love for TGRs and TGR boxes that I collect. But like, I passed on it. I didn't even try. I tried for a 910 because I didn't have a 910. But it's gotten to the point where like now I'm thinking a lot harder about my purchases, even if it's from somebody that I know is rock solid.
Yeah. No. It's fair point.
Yeah. Okay. So what does this mean?
A TLDR.
Or the G in the script?
Okay, so the G that Simon is referencing is designers, as a designer, I want to make something nice, for people to enjoy. But how the hell am I going to price this to make it value for money, right?
I mean, the question is, how do I compete?
Yeah, so, okay, how do you compete?
As a designer who has very little control over the means of production,
Sure.
do you think it's even possible now for designers to come in and start making simple, minimalistic boards?
See, you can make minimalistic boards, but there has to be some like wild stuff going on internally, right? You've got to have some sort of feature going on. Like bring something different to the table where, okay, you want to make a rectangle externally, internally, do some fun stuff, like add some options for mounting, add some like cool wireless stuff, add a USB hub, like features are what are gonna make a board stand out now at the 400 plus.
Yeah. What you're
Unless you have a super established brand name.
Oh, that we're not even counting that.
Yeah.
Because that there's still some hope, but the designer, the aspiring designer that's just entering, making something, most people are going to start with something bog standard. There is no,
I've dropped my Ergo project.
so you've canceled one of your projects.
I have 3 prototypes in my house. This was before this even existed. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do the same approach, like internal weight only, and it's gonna be very, very simple on the outside and whatnot. And I did some like interesting things with the mounts, but it's like, well, now I have to find either a really, really good manufacturer that wants to do things for cheap, sell off the design to a maker who wants to make a ton of units.
And then if that's the case, you'd have to compromise on design one way or another to try and reduce cost.
Or settle for private runs, because there's no way that, or now I don't feel comfortable, for the particular design that I'm talking about, charging that amount of money. It's not a slack on, like, oh, I feel the design is worthy of such value with the amount of work that's gone into it, but the customer doesn't care.
Yeah,
right.
You can't compete.
The customer cares about what he sees and what he touches and what he hears, right? And it's like, oh shit, if I want $400, I better give him something out of this world.
Absolutely. I think, I mean, I don't want to be a doomer,
I'm already a doomer.
but this board and the implications of future runs and future projects by TKD, if they can deliver on this quality at this price, is there will be a major shift in the hobby where customers are going to think differently. They're going to be a lot more smart with their money, even for their first purchase. Even if they're enthusiasts, they're going to think a lot more about it, especially with, world economics going the way that they are. Good makers are going to potentially put aside designs because they know they can't compete. Bad makers, that's a blanket statement. It's not really such thing as a bad maker, but people that are just in and out to make some money, they can compete. unless they're going to come in and do something wild, in which case I wouldn't consider them a bad maker at all. So this is a big wake-up call to everybody. I think what TKD has done with keyboards, what I want the most in the world is somebody to do this with switches and keycaps. Because for those of you that watched my Cycle7 review, the key set on this, apologies for terrible cinematography, it's a $25 die subset from China, from League Brothers. And it's insane.
It gives you
It's insane.
95%
Of CRP.
of what you expect from CRP.
Yeah.
But it has a working backspace.
It has a working. The bars on this were straighter than GMK. The bars on this were straighter than everything else. The die sub on this is as crisp as CRP. The molds are a little bit lacking, but that's not the discussion here. The discussion here is, I want to see caps. I want to see somebody enter this space and be the TKD of keycaps.
Yeah.
I want somebody to enter this space and be the TKD of switches, because a switch should not cost 50 cents, should not cost 30 cents, should cost 20 cents if you're doing something amazing and factory looped. But for, basic switches, the same way that I picked up my first generation Greetech Blacks at 9 cents each, a good switch should be 9 cents, because I know it's possible. Somebody just needs to come in and basically show everybody else that it's possible and be the competition.
Given the state of the hobby, though, do you think that's realistic?
Yes, because given the state of the hobby, when people have less money to spend and people are more reluctant to spend that money, the best way of getting their money is by giving them a way better value. That's why they will sell 8,000 units of this. It's why that whoever steps into the keycap space and can do amazing double shot for, let's say, under $50,
Yeah.
will destroy GMK, will destroy everybody else. Capitalism exists for a very good reason. It's used for not good reasons, but this is why capitalism should exist. Compete. And I'd love to be able to buy a TKL, a good TKL, for $150, spend $15 on amazing switches, and spend $30 on amazing caps, and get the experience that 3 years earlier I wouldn't have gotten without spending $600-700. That's what I want. That'd be amazing. And
I agree.
it's just a matter of time. That's the thing. This is the wake-up call of, if somebody's willing to do this for boards, and you're in the space of doing keycaps or doing switches, watch out. Because your complacency is going to get you killed if you cannot deliver from a value perspective. I think that's my take. I don't want to be too wild about it, but what this board actually means for the hobby is insane.
I'm excited. I like being a part of the hobby, and ironically, I like being a consumer, right? I like
Customer.
consume. Okay, I like being a customer and getting stuff and trying it, and unboxing something. There is an experience that comes with that, right?
Yeah. I mean, the experience is also, you've got that aspect, you've got the community aspect.
The past year, I just no.
I mean, the past year, at the very least, you still have the community aspect where you unbox a board and you take it to a friend and you're like, I want you to try this, check this out. You know, that will never die.
That's true.
That's the thing that keeps
things
us
like
in the hobby.
meetups and stuff like that. And okay, we always come back to people are the best things, are the best thing about the hobby, right?
Yeah, the real hobby is the
And
friends we make along the way.
Exactly, and sharing that experience with others.
Yeah.
So if I can walk up to someone and say, "Hey, this was $100. What do you think?" and they lose their mind, it's like, yeah,
Somebody's
now
on the right
you do
track.
the same,
Yeah.
So but keycaps, it's the next thing to happen. It's going to happen. We're gonna get good double shot ABS out of China very soon, for a good price.
And then hopefully we also see some other developments. All right. I think that's our whole Doomer talk.
Yeah.
Cycle7, rest in peace, hobby. We got to do
No.
crying thumbnail.
No, it's a new beginning.
Okay, wait. You You hold this as if you're gonna smack me, and I'm gonna be sad. There's our thumbnail. Okay. You watched all the way to the end just to figure out where the thumbnail was. There you go, buddy. There you go. I guess that's it. Thank you, Paul, for coming and chatting with us for a solid 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching this video with a very developed script, and I'll see you for my upcoming Brutal 1800 review, which is a good value keyboard.
Hey, we did pretty good for a 5-line script.
Are there 5 lines? There are actually 5 lines. Bye, guys.